and I am the Executive Director of the New Jersey Historical Commission. So it's my happy task to first kind of tell you a little bit about the Historical Commission, as well as introduce you to Revolution NJ. So to begin with the Historical Commission, we are an agency within the Department of State, within state government, and our job is to really support, promote, encourage, preserve, and also encourage the enjoyment of state history. And we do that through a variety of different means. We have a very active grant program that we use to support history organizations and projects all around the state. And we also do that through programming that we offer throughout each and every year. And you just saw some of that programming actually in that opening commercial, some of the upcoming events that we have. Well, we are engaged in a very, very important and exciting initiative right now, and that is Revolution NJ. Revolution NJ is our preparation for marking the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States. And the target year for that is really 2026, which will be the actual 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. And there are nationwide activities underway right now. There is a national commission that is working on preparations at the national level, and states all over the country are engaged in preparing state level activities as well. And here in New Jersey, the group that is doing that is Revolution NJ. And that is a partnership between the state agency I represent, New Jersey Historical Commission, and the private nonprofit Crossroads of the American Revolution. So let me just share with you the mission for Revolution NJ. Our goal is to advance the role that history plays in public discourse, community engagement, education, tourism, and scholarship in New Jersey. Through a series of initiatives that explore the history of the American Revolution, its context, and its legacy, Revolution NJ will galvanize diverse audiences statewide in embracing the enduring value and relevance of history. So that's really what we're all about in our planning. And I did want to just share with you quickly that we have some really important goals that Mark is going to get into in just a minute. I'll get him going here in just a minute, but we do want to share with you some of the goals and exciting interpretive themes that we've established. But I want to end my introduction here by just mentioning that New Jersey's history is unique. Every state has unique history, right? But I think one of the things that we at the Historical Commission get very excited about is that because of our geographic location here on the Eastern Seaboard, New Jersey history is a terrific way to understand U.S. history as a whole, because all of those great themes of U.S. history really are reflected in the story of our state. So we get very excited about any opportunity to work with teachers to really explore ways in which we can share that state history and get students engaged in their local history and engaged in thinking about how the stories that happen right outside everyone's door here in New Jersey really are part of and important to that larger national narrative. So with that, I would love to introduce Dr. Mark Lawrence from the New Jersey Historical Commission. He is our chief public historian. He's going to tell you a little bit more about the strategic goals that we have in place for Revolution NJ. Mark?
Thank you so much, Sarah, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to share my screen real quick just to kind of show you an overview of what Sarah was mentioning, specifically relating to our larger goals. And I want to just emphasize that over the last 4 years, we have been really working on the ground, doing a number of reports and talking to communities around the state to see what really resonates with them when it comes to looking at our state's past 250 years. And we also held a Scholar Summit with a lot of leading academics to discuss interpretive themes and ideas that are really key right now and are being debated around the country. So what you'll see here in our larger goals is that there's a huge emphasis on diverse and inclusive storytelling to tell a more complicated and a more complex understanding of the past. That is one of our biggest goals right now for the 250th. And at the same time, we're really trying to help encourage the growth of organizations in our state to be able to attract and serve a wide, diverse population. This is going to be tied into our larger goal of promoting heritage tourism throughout the state and have a positive impact on the economy and the communities that are in this wonderful state of ours. And then really, you'll see as today, the Perfect Partner is one of the key programs we have right now dealing with really placing a lot of extra emphasis on our relationships with education in the state and how social studies is being taught. We've done a larger report, which you'll hear about. Joan and Chris have been doing great programming with us and bringing together a lot of great voices and creating materials for educators to use so that we can achieve our goal number 5, which is listed here, which is ultimately how does understanding and thinking like a historian help us navigate the complexities of today. And our last goal is really to kind of create this lasting legacy of private and public funding so that this isn't just a once in a generation blow off, right? And that we can create a sustainable historical community in the state. I'll go really quickly through our 7 themes. In order to kind of see the interpretive framework as sort of a cohesive story, we focused on 7 themes that are really broad. So you can find your story, your site, your organization can pick one of these themes and explore it anywhere in the 250-year history that we're going to be examining as we approach the semi-quincentennial. And we're really excited at what types of topics you can explore by looking at some of these themes. And you'll hear a little bit more about it today. But we have a number of professional development resources, including a bundles of silence video that dive into these themes in particular. So I don't want to go too much into it, but I do want to show folks how to get to this website. If you go to our website, history.nj.gov, let me just share my screen to a different link right now. You'll go to the main page. If you click on this tab up here that says History Resources, it'll take you into our larger hub of information. And if you scroll down, you'll be able to see Revolution NJ resources. And here you'll see our larger executive summary document. And then also the executive summary document of the strategic framework, but also our interpretive framework. If you click into both of these, they'll take you into a PDF that will sort of walk you through everything I just showed. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. If you wanted to explore how to use these documents or what your organization can do leading up to the 250th, we are more than happy to talk with people and start planning and getting the gears rolling. We have increasingly been meeting with folks in different counties and organizations throughout the state. 4 years is not a long time to plan, as folks probably know. So we're really hoping that we can, get the ball rolling and help support folks where necessary. And with that, I do want to introduce our first speaker, Hank Bitton, who is the Executive Director of the New Jersey Council for Social Studies, to talk a little bit about what New Jersey did in 1976 and how it compares to today.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I was in my 7th year of teaching in 1776, and I want to just share with you the profound effect that the teaching of the bicentennial had not only on me, but on many of us who were around at that time. I'd like to give you 5, takeaways of thinking about this. First of all, we did not have all the resources that teachers have today. We had a ditto machine, not a photocopier. We did not have any VHS videos. The only movie that I remember we could reserve and get by mail was one of those large, 12-inch movie style things from colonial, Williamsburg. But one of the things, or the first thing that really left an impact upon me is New Jersey started putting all around the state those blue historical markers that are still standing. And we were able to see that in our own communities. George Washington walked here, slept here. There was a battle site that was here. This was part of an underground railroad, etc. So those markers still stand today. And it was the first time in the 1770s that we became aware of local history in an educational sense. Also, many of the historical sites that are in each of our counties today. In my community of Bergen County, it was the Hermitage. It was a rundown, dilapidated a home. You might well think at Halloween it was a haunted house. Today, of course, the story of Theodosia Prevost, marriage to Aaron Burr, George Washington, staying at that home, the court martial of Charles Lee, etc. It just resonates with students today. And that was all part of the incentive of the bicentennial of 1776. If you know from teaching, the 1770s were a time of tremendous dissent. We often focus on the problems we have today in the United States, but back then we had just lost the Vietnam War or did a retreat from it. The war certainly did not turn out the way that many thought it was going to turn out. We had the resignation, impeachment and resignation of Richard Nixon. We had the oil crisis that put shockwaves through with gas shortages and high inflation, and New Jersey and New York City were on the verge of bankruptcy. It was also the civil rights era. And it was the new scholarship that came out at that time was Crispus Attucks, okay, was killed at the Boston Massacre. And we were all trying to get information about how to teach, such an important discovery, at that time. But one of the other key things, if you look at the legacy of the bicentennial, is how it motivated people my age at that time in the 20s to a lifetime of scholarship in American history, and particularly the American Revolution. Think of names like Gordon Wood, Eric Foner, Mary Beth Norton, David McCullough, Carol Birkin, Barbara Oberg, Maxine Lurie, Ken Jackson, David Bryan Davis. We've all read their books, and their scholarship and motivation for digging deeper into this period of history is all part of the legacy that happened 50 years ago. As a teacher, what was new and exciting for me is I took all of my students in 1776, 130 of them in different days all around New York City, because I was teaching in Queens. And we did slideshows. So we visited places like Castle Clinton, Harlem Heights, Brooklyn Heights, Newtown Creek, Quaker Meeting Homes, Kips Bay. And the local history of just seeing these was a tremendous discovery. In fact, we even discovered that one of my students, Donald Hallett, his great whatever, was living there and one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence for the state of New York. Now think about this. Students right now in first grade, age 6 or 7, all right, 53, 54 years from now at the 300th anniversary, will still be 60, likely in the prime of their life. And they will be alive and remembering what they learned about the revolution. And the revolution, of course, is not limited to 1776. It's an ongoing and continuing story that we share with them. But what we do in our classrooms the next 3 or 4 years, by connecting students, particularly students of diverse backgrounds, into the local history of their community, is an exciting initiative as we plant seeds in their minds about the possibilities and the depth of what the spirit of the revolution means to us today. Liberty, equality, justice, independence, pursuit of happiness, etc. So that's my take. It's extremely had a lasting impact on me. I still have so much of the newspapers and memorabilia and pictures that I took, from 1776 with me. So thank you.
Thank you, Hank. And I, like Hank, also remember the bicentennial. And I did want to make just a follow-up comment to Hank's wonderful presentation. And that is that, one of the big recollections I have of the bicentennial is, of course, I actually entered public history in part because of the bicentennial and because of what, the interest that ignited in me in history, in American history. And I think one of the big outcomes of the bicentennial as far as the public history field, i.e. those museum curators and museum educators that now work in all of our historic sites, was a real drive for authenticity, a real drive to both preserve the materials of the American Revolution, but also to do the necessary research to really tell accurate and authentic stories about them. Now, as I've talked to my colleagues around the country, as we think about the 250th, one of the big questions is what will we all take out of this 250th anniversary? And I'm going to give you my prediction. My prediction from speaking to colleagues all around the nation is that the big message that everyone around the country in terms of history is thinking about is how to tell that inclusive, diverse story of our past, how to fill in the stories that weren't told 50 years ago and 150 years ago. And that's such an exciting part of this anniversary, and certainly part of what we're trying to do in New Jersey is to encourage research and teaching of a very complex, nuanced understanding of all of those who were part of that American story 250 years ago and the 250 years that followed. So it's a really exciting, I think, journey for us right now as we approach this anniversary, and we're thrilled to have all of you with us on that journey. And now I'd love to welcome Hank back to our conversation and also introduce two other wonderful speakers. First, we have Dr. Joan Redeman, who is the New Jersey Historical Commission project assistant. She's much more an assistant. She's an advisor. A retired teacher from West Windsor Plainsboro School District and a board member for New Jersey History Day. And Joan has been working with us for several years as we get ready for this anniversary. Welcome, Joan. And we also have with us Hannah Gaston, who has also been working on one of our working groups. Hannah is the education coordinator at Liberty Hall Museum in Union, New Jersey. And I'm going to turn it over to the three of you to get us more into some of these great resources that all of our teachers can take advantage of for this anniversary.
Okay, so I want to welcome everybody. Our intent here today is to provide you with a plethora of resources that are going to make your teaching chores easier. So as a teacher, I'm looking at through a lens of, I don't want to have to add more in, but I want to augment in a very rich, robust way what we already need to do or must do. The New Jersey Historical Commission's website is a treasure trove at your fingertips of materials for teachers. And it's easy to find. You don't even have to remember the website, just New Jersey Historical Commission. And the website will come up. And when you get here at the top of this dashboard, you'll see materials for teachers. When you click that on, it's going to take you to a page that will link you to many, many different resources. Now we're going to come back to Revolution, New Jersey. But just as we scroll through this, you can see that the commission did a wonderful series of videos about women's rights in New Jersey. It happened here in New Jersey. It was another historical commission initiative celebrating the 350th anniversary in 2014. Lots of resources there. And to pause for just a minute, so much happens in New Jersey. We were at crossroads of the revolution, but from that point, we were involved with every aspect of what was going on in the world was going on in a microcosm in New Jersey. So all you have to think about is immigration rights, civil rights, women's rights. Alice Paul was right here in New Jersey. The Industrial Revolution. It's fascinating. So the Historical Commission, as Sarah said, is committed to bringing that history alive. And teachers, it's right here for you. So we'll keep scrolling down. I want to pause here for just a moment that the field trip, it's been difficult, of course, with COVID, there was nothing. But what was happening with our friends in the public history realm, museums, archives, libraries, they were creating virtual outreach for education purposes. So visitors could see their site online. And now that COVID is over and their sites are starting to open up again, they have wonderful hybrids of in-person as well as virtual materials. What the New Jersey Commission is involved with doing right now is a survey of the public history sites, historic buildings, historic homes, museums, libraries, archives, all the public historians and sites in the state, and asking them to update their resources of what they have. If you've been following our Perfect Partners website webinars, you are aware that we're working with educators, are working with the public historians. The very first one was to help the public historians to understand the New Jersey learning standards. So when they write their programming, they can interject the appropriate learning standards. This will make life easier for teachers, certainly, to say, oh, if we do this, we're going to be meeting these standards. Always makes it easier to pitch to administrators, right? And then also what's available. Do they have experts that come into the school? Do they have research material for students to work with on site? Do they charge an access fee? Can students work there independently? So all of this information is being gathered now. And so this part of the website will be updated shortly. We have, as we continue on, New Jersey History for Kids for younger students. Electronic New Jersey is the website's now being the centerpiece of our digital highway. Around and About New Jersey for again, teachers' guides, what's available for you. New Jersey Legacy with teachers' guides. New Jersey Partnership Project with teacher guides. We just keep going. Now, at the very end, topical guides and materials for teachers, and we're going to open this up. And you can see that the topical guides are everything from Native American history in New Jersey, women's history, civil rights history, immigrants, and it's K through 4, as well as then 5 through 12. Growth of New Jersey cities, protecting the environment, immigration, rise of the suburbs. Virtually anything that you're teaching in your curriculum has a New Jersey connection to it that you can find very easily through these resources that are at literally your fingertips on this the website. So now let's go back to our materials for teachers and go to, at the top, Revolution New Jersey. Click on the professional development opportunities in teaching, and I want to show you very specifically what has been developed here. The blue links, we'll come back to these, but we're going to click on first is Bundles of Silences, interpretive approaches to the past. Mark was very clever to find these 7 historians from around the country. If we'll go scroll back, Chris, to the top with the 7 people. We're doing this in tandem. So Mark found these 7 wonderful scholars that were willing to put together a little webinar. Each lasts about 30 minutes. I can tell you that they are fascinating. As a teacher, I know that I don't have 30 minutes in my school day to show an entire video. But we're going to show you how you can use these judiciously in your classroom. However, I have to recommend as teachers of history that these are really worthwhile for you to watch in full. One of the things that impressed me is that these historians are very objective. It is what it is. They don't let themselves get tied up in knots over the politics of the time. But you can see that the topics are a range of information, not just about the revolution, but Jimmy Sweetman, one of the first, second one was on indigenous people. And how did we interact with the Native American people, we being European settlers? Were these people cheated out of their land? Were there treaties? How were the treaties interpreted? We'll stop here for a minute. Dr. Roberts has a wonderful program discussion of exclusion and inclusion. Who was included and who was excluded, and what did that mean for the development of their people in the society? And how the American experience is defined by exclusion and inclusion. And then the next one being Dr. Hopkins, who was looking at the African American experience and citizenship, the concept of who is a citizenship and how do you gain citizenship, or are you just born to citizenship? Has the institution of voting been differently applied and experienced? Who's considered in this process? And then Kathleen Lopez out of Rutgers is looking at the migrant experience with particularly Latino and Caribbean migrants in our community, which is densely populated. One of the things that I think that we need to consider is our students in New Jersey, no matter what part of New Jersey you're from, are wildly diverse, very widely diverse. And what they will experience, and you will see in these videos, is the diversity has always been there, and how people and students will react to the fact that their community and how people before them engage with the issue of assimilation into this community. So let's look at what these videos provide. In each one, we have, let's go back to frequently asked questions. We'll start there. Chris, go back to Professor Gonzalez-Tennant, because he kind of starts us all off with how do we tell history? How do we engage with the historical process? So each one of these videos provides a frequently asked questions for us. We'll click this on, and also their additional readings, which help to focus our thinking and help to focus our students' thinking. For example, what are the best practices when understanding historical research? And then a wonderful question, what are useful steps for evaluating resources on the internet? Our kids really need to understand that. And he has a wonderful way of addressing this. What can we trust? How do we trust it? It really goes back to, with any source, who's telling the history, who's writing it, for what audience, and for what purpose. So he helps us to engage with that. And then each of these videos has its own transcript, which is incredibly helpful for us. So we can listen to it, but if there's something we want to go back and dig into a little bit more deeply, the entire transcript is available to us. A really helpful source. But then skip down to historical process educational resources. And what we've provided for teachers is this document. So every one of the videos has this document, looking at an overview, looking at the key concepts. But as you see, the key concepts are time checked according, time marked according to where they are discussed in the video. So for example, you want to have a discussion with your kids on where historical data comes from. And you can click on Dr. Tena Gonzalez at point 9:10 and have about 4 or 5 minutes of his discussion of how historians look at data, where and how they gather data. Finding and assessing historical sources, a wonderful 3 minutes worth as he's explaining this. So you will understand and have the entire context of the video, but by using the key concepts and the time marks, you're able to use it. The other thing we've done for you is given you the learning standards, making it a little bit easier as you're writing lesson plans, you know, and you're going to be looking at this. The New Jersey Learning Standard markers are right there for you as well. Okay, and then we have review questions that go a little bit beyond. It's not just the factual, but it's really asking kids to engage with. So for example, what are the 5 W questions that you should ask considering the quality of a historical resource? So Dr. Gonzalez-Tennant discusses this, and then the students can review these ideas with these questions. And then ultimately, for each video, we have a series of activities. The intent of the activities is to allow students to engage in actions as historians would, to use the skills and strategies that the historian of the video has discussed. So in this case, looking at research in their own community. So Hank was talking about this, and this is so true, that students, when it's relevant to them, I taught middle school kids for so many years, and if it was relevant to them, they were interested in it. But how much more relevant than the corner store that seems to be so old, and they find out that it's been there for over 100 years, and who established the store and what has it been? So research in the community, looking at who lived here and where did they come from, and finding census maps and finding hidden data in literally bundles of silences. Where does that title come from? Well, if we were looking for voices of diverse people, that are not in historic record, often they were not educated, or they were not people of means, or that all factors that would shut people out from being in the written record. They are somewhat in the written record in other ways, and we can find them in historic data, primary sources that are left to us. Hannah will certainly talk about this because Liberty Hall does a fabulous program on understanding people of another time through resources that are available to us, from the primary sources that are left to us. So that, and then we have our resources that we have used that will support this program. So Chris, let's just look at one other, just at random, doesn't matter. Let's look at Elena Roberts' work, and the overview of what she is looking at is with exclusion and inclusion, and her key concepts which occur within her video. One thing you'll note here is a case study. The case studies are particularly about things in New Jersey history, but looking at particular instances that are exemplars or examples of exclusion or inclusion in history. Again, we have the learning standards. And again, we have the review questions. For example, she makes the, and then we have activities. And note the activities here. Number 2, let's just look at number 2. Who gets to vote is a contentious issue. Certainly, we're hearing about this almost daily. So finding examples from the 21st century of voters' rights being debated. and discuss what the issues were from multiple perspectives. Write a letter to an editor expressing your argument for a specific point of view regarding voting rights in the US. I'm of the generation where we were activists for 18-year-olds getting the vote. I used to tell my students, I'm so disappointed that you don't vote. We worked so hard for you to be able to vote at 18. Come on, you got to exercise that vote. It's quite a right. So these are some researchers that are resources that are incredibly valuable. There's no way to really appreciate the depth and the richness of what's here without exploring it on your own. And again, our intent is to walk you through it very quickly here and encourage you to then go back and dig into it. Watch these videos, they are fascinating, but then you can use the transcripts with the time markers to figure out what would work in your classroom. Again, these are Revolutionary War oriented, but we have Westerning history, civil rights history, immigration history, women's history. So virtually anything that you're doing in your classroom, you'll find material here that will augment what you are working on in class. One other point about the activities, they are intended to be done over maybe a week, a couple of days to a week. You can jigsaw the activities, kids can work in groups. There's things that kids can gather at home and then bring back into the classroom to really analyze and manipulate. So making it worthwhile for you as a teacher to get your kids to behave like historians using the skills and strategies that historians use. Okay, so I'm now turning this over, switching gears here, to Hannah. I want you to meet Hannah from Liberty Hall, who has, again, Liberty Hall is a wonderful example of what's available for teachers and students, and they are very welcoming, hands-on folks. So Hannah, welcome.
Thank you, Joan. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for being here this afternoon. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I put together some slides. I know I only have a few minutes, so I'm going to try to go through all of this as quickly as possible, but I have quite a lot to share with you folks. So if you folks are not familiar with Liberty Hall, we are a historic house and gardens museum in Union, New Jersey. We are also a level 2 accredited arboretum. We have history that dates from 1774 all the way through modern day. We were the home of the state's first elected governor, Governor William Livingston. He moved into the home in 1774, and then after the Livingstons lived there, 6 generations of the Kane family lived there, starting with this woman who purchased the home in 1811, and then the home's history dates all the way until 1995 to our very last resident, Mary Alice, that we see right here. So it's really a very full, complete history of America, of New Jersey, and as Joan said, we do a lot for a lot of students and a lot of different visitors, audiences of all ages. So I very quickly want to talk a little bit about how we can serve you and serve your students and serve even your families and beyond. So here at Liberty Hall, we offer museum school partnerships, and I'll talk about all of these more in detail, but just a brief overview. We offer museum school partnerships that offer discounted admissions prices for students and other resources that are only available to our school partners. There are 3 ways to visit the museum with your students, with in-person field trips, virtual experiences, and outreach programs as well. I know finding buses can be very difficult still, but we can go to your school and do activities and bring objects and artifacts with us and work directly in your classrooms with you. We also offer professional development workshops for teachers, and we have a number of other resources as well. Now, all of our programs at Liberty Hall, regardless of in-person, virtual, or outreach, they meet state New Jersey curriculum standards as well as Common Core standards. We love to do programs in historic dress. As you can see, 2 of our educators right there cheesing it up for a camera as they're all dressed in our 18th century garb. And all of our programs, regardless of what they are, even for professional development programs, include hands-on activities. We are all about letting students use documents, read documents, use and experience and hold and feel and explore the real artifacts and the objects that people would have been using in the past. So to talk a little bit about our museum school partnerships. So our school partners, as I said, they get discounted admission to all of our educational activities, and they choose from a list of 5 different activities. They ask our partners to choose and participate in 2 of the following activities: in our in-person field trips, virtual field trips, our outreach programs, our professional development, and a program that we call Windows to the Past, where you get to meet with a character from Liberty Hall. It's an in-person, it's a first-person interpretation of one of the many people that lived at Liberty Hall. So you might get to meet Susan Livingston or Mary Alice, or you have a whole list of individuals that you can choose from, and then your students get to meet them virtually for a Q&A and a tour of Liberty Hall from that individual. And it's a lot of fun to do on our side, but it's a lot of fun for the students as well. And then the partners, for becoming a partner with us, as I said, discounted admission to all of our educational activities. And then you also get access to complimentary lesson plans. As Joan was saying, it's so good that we have so many different resources available to our schools and to our educators. And this is just one more way that we like to support our teachers and our educators by giving them these lesson plans that discuss all sorts of different things relating to New Jersey and American history that all tie into the resources available at Liberty Hall. I also want to talk a little bit about some of the field trip opportunities that we have here at the museum for all ages. Our most popular young elementary program is this Changing Childhood program, where we talk about how life has changed through history, starting from the 1780s all the way through the 1940s. And we talk about music and toys and communication and lighting and heating and transportation and technology. And we have all of these things. We have candles, and we have gas lamps and argon gas lamps and oil lamps, and we get all the way through electricity. And so they get to see all these changes of technology and all of these changes through time. And of course, they get to meet all these different educators and all of these different period clothing from that time period. These programs are 3 hours, which include a lunch break. We can host up to 130 students at a time, and we have a space on our campus where you can eat lunch, so you don't have to worry about what are we going to do. We have to get the buses back in time. We also have a number of additional workshops that you can pair with these programs that deal with quill writing and that deal with spying during the Revolution, or we have one that deals with top painting and toys and games that children would have played through time. And this program can also be done as an outreach program or as a virtual field trip. As I said, busing can be difficult, so we can come to your classroom or do it virtually as well. Our most popular program is our Crown to Country program. I actually just I just finished a Crown to Country program and put the kids back on the bus before I came and chatted with you folks this afternoon. So this program is our 4th through 6th grade program, and it looks at how we as the state of New Jersey went from being the colony of New Jersey to a part of this wider United States. We use all of the resources and the stories that we have here at Liberty Hall, and we talk a lot about how people in New Jersey had to choose. Are they going to be a patriot? Are they going to be a loyalist? And of course, we had a very large community of Quakers here in New Jersey who were purposefully staying out of the conflict. And so we have children sign a loyalty oath and choose which side of the war they want to join, of course, with a quill, pen, and with ink. This program is 3 to 3.5 hours, depending on how many students you bring. Again, we can do those additional workshops with your students. And again, this is available as an outreach or virtual field trip program. And this is one of those programs where it's so much fun to watch the kids recognize the significance of their local history. We had a school from Nutley here today, and I was talking about how this was a home of William Livingston, who was a signer of the Constitution, who helped write the Declaration of Independence. And this kid was like, this is his home? I'm sitting on his floor. And I was like, yes, this is where he lived. And I just love watching that realization in their faces. It's like, this is really where this history is happening. And you don't have to travel far in the state of New Jersey to get that experience. For our middle schoolers, we have our Roach Revolution program, which is very similar to our Crown to Country program, except as we know, we're starting to introduce those primary source documents into the curriculum in middle school. And so we pull out our primary source documents and we lead a workshop on them. And we talk about how historians learn history from primary source documents and how we have to be careful to understand different perspectives in a document, and how some documents are not as straightforward as they read. You have to think about what they're really talking about. So it's a lot of fun, and we still get to talk about the changes that we have in the colony of New Jersey, how we get to this point of being a country. They still get to sign a loyalty oath with a quill pen. This program is also 3 hours, and again, available as an outreach or a virtual field trip as well. And then for our high school students, we have a program called Historian's Apprentice that really digs into those questions of how do we know history? How do we learn history? How do we reinterpret history over time? And so again, we pull out these documents, and we have documents that talk about the enslaved people at Liberty Hall, and documents that talk about the soldiers that were living in the home, and how William Livingston's wife was afraid for him to come back home while, throughout the course of the revolution. So we have some really interesting documents that they can really dive into it and talk about historical perspective. We talk about how we take oral histories. We discuss how we teach and tell stories with objects. How do you do that as a curator? What does that even mean? And so we talk about that. And we also have a very fun workshop where we give them some unknown mystery objects. We like to call it History's Mysteries. And we have them try to figure out, what was this object used for? And how, as a historian, do we even begin the process of determining what these things were and how we use them? So that one is a lot of fun. This is a 2-hour program, and the great thing about this program is that we can include admissions tour of Kean University. I know students in high school that obviously starting that process, those conversations of finding a school, finding a college, and we're right here. So it's the perfect combination to let kids go and see the university as well. Now, booking a program is very, very easy. You can email me, you can call me, you can honestly just scan this QR code right now and fill out a form online. But I'm going to change the slide, so do it really quickly because we're moving on. I only have a few minutes. I also want to talk very quickly about our professional development workshops. We offer 2 different workshops, teaching with objects and then teaching with documents. Both of these workshops are pretty much exactly as they are listed there. We talk about how you can bring objects into your classroom, effective ways to use them and teach from them, and then how you can bring primary source and secondary source documents into your classroom. Again, how you can access them, where you can access them, and how you can make them accessible to your students. And then professional development credit can be given based on the school district. I've never had an issue with that. And then we offer them at select times throughout the year. I will tell you right now, I don't have any on the books yet, but if we offer a professional development workshop, I'll certainly be able to give information to Chris and Mark and Sarah and get the word out if we offer one. We probably won't offer one this calendar year, but certainly into 2023. And we also offer a number of other resources for your students and your families. Here at Liberty Hall, we have monthly after school programs and weekly summer programs for students in grades 1st through 5th. We offer scout programs at every scouting level: Daisies, Girl Scouts, Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts. And we do also offer volunteer opportunities and internship opportunities for high school students and for college students. So if you're a high school student and they want to do something, if you're a high school teacher and your students are interested in history and possibly pursuing a career in history, and they want to get some experience, we absolutely offer those opportunities. Now, I know that was a very fast overview of Liberty Hall. I was told I only have 7 minutes, and I think I went over, so I apologize about that. But thank you so much. And I think I'm passing it back to Hank. I'm not sure. Who do I pass it to?
Yes, hello, everyone. I'm back. Okay. And fantastic, Hannah. Particularly everything that you said about history and about the artifacts and living in the time is what I have to offer you here as well. The New Jersey Historical Commission gave the New Jersey Council for Social Studies a generous grant last year to research at the local level the experiences of what we call these ordinary people. It is on our website. You simply go njcss.org. Chris is going to click on 250th anniversary of the American Revolution, and you can see part 1 of what we did last year. And so she's going to click on the directory of New Jersey Voices for Ordinary People. And you can see that there's roughly here 15 different local people from different counties throughout New Jersey. These are not lesson plans. Our feeling is teachers don't want a lesson plan per se, but they do want resources and they do want prompts. Every one of you watching this teaches differently, whether you present all the information to your students, they're in different groups or whatever the case might be. So there is a very short decision activity, which I will show you in a little bit. Many of these we put together a 3 to 5 minute little documentary video. And there's another site that will take you to primary sources. So for those students who are advanced in your groups and want to do some further background research or just look at the primary documents that are there, they can do that. For this current year, probably starting in 2 weeks over the teacher convention weekend, we are looking at the experiences of African Americans living at the time of the Revolution. We are looking at Native Americans in New Jersey. We are looking at women and children. And the area I'm focusing on are prisoners of war in New Jersey, particularly at the Perth Amboy, Morristown, Burlington, the Jersey Ship off the coast of New Jersey, down by Long Beach Island, Seaside, in that area. All right, so let's take a look at one of these. Samuel Allison is the one that I wanted to focus on with the decision activity. Samuel Allison is from, Burlington, County. And let's just take a look at the opening here and what you might do with this. Okay, so just stop right there, Chris, you're good. During the Revolution, I was a supporter of loyalist ideals. What does that mean? When we often teach the loyalists, and New Jersey had a very significant loyalist population, we probably teach, well, they were loyal to Britain, they were loyal to King George. Obviously, the British militarily came into New York Harbor and New Jersey because they expected a lot of loyalist sympathizers to support them. The Patriots are whatever, New England areas, Massachusetts, a significant population in parts of, Virginia, but Pennsylvania is a lot of Quakers, so-called nonviolent, not going to participate, and New Jersey has these loyalists. But Samuel Allison was not a loyalist because he did not want independence. He was not a loyalist because he supported King George in Parliament. He was a loyalist because at this time, Britain gave freedom to any enslaved person who came to them and set foot in London or in a British colony. And so that raises some interesting questions, I think, for students about loyalist ideals and what Lord Dunmore had promised them in his decree, and at what point the Continental Congress and George Washington will offer freedom to enslaved persons, living here in America. And so what is this that he did? Notice how hard he worked to give Catherine and her daughter, before the Declaration of Independence, freedom or manumission, as well as afterwards. How long did that take? And as you look at this, you can actually see some of the manumission papers. You will see some other stories of how it took people 40 years to get their freedom or independence, even though they fought and were wounded or injured in the fight for freedom for the American Revolution. It also raises, I think, an interesting question or perspective for today. With that question, have you ever stood up for what you believe in? Students and families today have strong opinions, right, on environmental issues, climate change, immigration, abortion rights, and whatever the age level, appropriate might be, interested in. Are you more loyal, or do you put your allegiance to the political party that has policies, or to the individual who's representing that political party's position in an election? And that's a very interesting question, because today most of our advertising and attention focuses on the individuals running for, local offices, Congress, president, et cetera, compared to just the political party, perspective, which is there. So what is the critical issue that is driving you? Another one here, if you just scroll down a little bit, you will see that Samuel Allison, stop right there, during the Revolution. Oh, let's go a little bit, the other way, okay. But he says here, during the Revolution, I wrote letters to William Livingston, who lived at Hannah's place over there. Well, William Livingston, so nice, first governor of New Jersey. William Livingston, though, had these Livingston raids. He went all around, not him personally, New Jersey, to round up the loyalists and get them to change their position to being a patriot or supporter of the revolution, or seizing their property, putting them in prison, having them arrested, etc. So what does that really say about the type of leader? It raises questions. And for someone like Samuel Allison, did he have to go into hiding because he was a loyalist? And why would he write to Patrick Henry in Virginia? Patrick Henry, give me liberty or give me death. Every teacher teaches that. But Patrick Henry did not fight so hard for the liberation, okay, of enslaved persons. And so William Allison speaks, or Samuel Allison speaks from a strong position over here of his beliefs. And the letter that he writes to Patrick Henry to abolish slavery is included here in the documents. It's also in the special collections, at Rutgers University. So these are some great sources here, including, look at the date. Samuel Livingston wrote, you just caught that, July 13th, 1778. And what, just getting students to think about that chronology is extremely important. That's 2 weeks after the Battle of Monmouth. Battle of Monmouth, June 28th, 1778. And he writes this letter July 13th. Okay. Why did he do it at that point? The Battle of Monmouth was somewhat inconclusive, wasn't a clear victory for, either side that's there. And Governor Livingston, William Livingston, get back to him. Let's give him some credit, what's due. He is instrumental, of course, in the slave trade compromises, okay, in terms of ending the slave trade in 1808, when he's, working on the Constitution here. Finally, just take a look at what you need to do as a teacher. So our suggestion to you is we basically have 3 years before the real kickoff, September 2025 into 2026. Now's the time to begin to build your social capital. Now's the time to take a look at street signs, historic sites in your county or in your local community, depending where you are. Now is the time to get a list of historians that you might contact to speak to your students or your class. Start with us, New Jersey Historical Commission, Liberty Hall, the local county historical museum or site in your town, your local library, and read books. Maxine Lurie's got an excellent book, right, that just came out a couple of weeks ago on revolutionary ideals in New Jersey. Talks almost exclusively about this. Look in the index of books and begin to build your social capital. So thank you. Hope you enjoyed all of these resources. They're overwhelming, but you'll have a chance to look at the recording and dig in deeper and begin your preparations for the future. Thank you.
Well done, Hank.
I want to just pop in and thank everyone, all of our wonderful presenters. I know we are at the end of our time. I wanted to mention that Hannah's wonderful programs and the resources that Hank has shared and the resources that we shared, all of that is going to be in our updated teacher's resource guide that we mentioned earlier, that we will be gathering updated information for. What's there now has some of this, but we're going to get updated information for you. And I'm going to toss it over for a final word to Mark to tell you quickly what's coming up in the future for Revolution NJ.
Yeah, what's coming up? We have a lot of big things coming up. I put in the chat our quarterly update for Revolution NJ, and we're going to be debuting part of our website for Revolution NJ. And you'll see that we've kind of streamlined the interface of where all the educational resources are going to be located. So that's going to be of interest to teachers moving forward. We have a larger project that Robert Fenster is working on called Our Town, which we're hoping to launch statewide, which is going to be a grades 5 to 12 initiative, getting folks to do on-the-ground research, looking at some of these stories that you see that were talked about today. So there's a number of things. We're asking folks to think big and to join us in this initiative.